Well, NASCAR season is almost here. Just like that, the holidays and the off season has come and gone, and that means one thing on this channel. Despite the new name, I am still doing it for the 4th year in a row. These are my predictions for the NASCAR season in the year 2023. Just as a quick heads up, I do sound a little under the weather. I've been dealing with really bad allergies for like the last week. I've been fighting it through, and I've been putting this off just so I can sound better. And so my voice isn't cracking anymore, so now I can finally jump on this and go with my 20 predictions for the 2023 NASCAR season. Let's get started. For the first prediction, we're going to go with speed weeks, just like we always have. I predict that the second ever clash to be held at the Los Angeles Coliseum will be won by Tyler Reddick in his official first race with 2311 Racing. He's taking over for Kurt Busch, when originally he was going to take over this car in 2024. Some things have changed, but I think Tyler Reddick will win this race, and I think he's going to have a really good first season with this team. All right, so the Daytona 500 pole, safe bet to go with a Hendrick car as always, because it's been like that since like 2015. I'm going to go with Chase Elliott to score the pole for the Daytona 500. And now on to our 3-course meal to kick off the season. Starting with the Truck Series, I'm going to go with Grant Enfinger. He won this race back in 2020. I think he's a pretty good pick to win this race. I think Enfinger's going to have a great start to the season and win this race. Moving over to the Xfinity Series, I'm really looking forward to Junior Motorsports and how they perform this year. I think they're going to light up the world. I think Josh Berry is going to get his biggest win yet and win the Xfinity opener at Daytona. And lastly, the Daytona 500. My pick for this driver, it really feels like for the last several years, this driver has come so close. He's always been in the running, and he's just come so close to winning this race. I think he's going to do it this year. This guy didn't win at all last year, which surprised the crap out of me, but he's going to win races this year. I predict Ryan Blaney will win the 2023 Daytona 500. Moving on now to prediction 2. This will be my first time winners category. So in the Truck Series, I'm picking Carson Hocevar and Raja Caruth. I'm really excited about Raja Caruth this season. I think he's going to go out and do some great things. And yeah, I think he can make the playoffs. But yeah, I think he, and definitely Carson Hocevar, he's another guy that has come so close. I think he's going to get that win this season. I think he's finally going to get over that obstacle, get over that edge, and finally get that W. And once you get your first one, I feel like he's going to get many more. For the Xfinity Series, I think there's a possibility that up to 4 drivers could get their first career wins. Here's who I have. Sheldon Creed. Obviously, he failed to make the Xfinity playoffs. He kind of struggled last year. I think he's going to have a much better season, though, this year, and I think he's going to win a race or two. Sam Mayer. He didn't win it all last year, but he's still a pretty decent driver, and I think he's going to get in victory lane at some point. The next 2 drivers have the same last name, but they're not related. I'm talking about Chandler Smith and Sammy Smith. Chandler Smith is moving up to the Xfinity Series this year. He will be driving for Colleague Racing. I think he's going to do a spectacular job driving for the team, and I think he's going to get a win as well. Sammy Smith, now running a full year with JGR. He's had plenty of races under his belt. I think you're going to see him improve, and I think you're going to see him in victory lane at some point as well. Now, lastly, for the Cup Series, last season was absolutely insane. We had 19 different winners, which ties for the most in the modern era, and we had 5 first-time winners. Absolutely insane. We had 5 first-time winners. This year, however, I think we're only going to get 1 full-time win, and I think it's going to come during the playoffs. I predict that Noah Gragson will win a race for the what was known as Petty GMS Racing, now the Legacy Motor Club. I think Noah Gragson will win a race late in 2023 and get his first career win. He's a very talented driver. He's got the will to win, and I think he's going to be pretty good. Seriously, look out for Legacy Motor Club. I think this team has a lot of promise. This team's got a lot of potential to do some great things. All right, prediction number 3. This is where I predict who will win the most races across the Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. In the Truck Series, I predict Zane Smith will get the most wins in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. God, can you believe that? It's called the Craftsman Truck Series again, just like the old days. But anyway, yeah, the defending champ, Zane Smith, I think he's going to go out and win the most races, and definitely be back to run for the championship again this season. In the Xfinity Series, I got a toss-up between two drivers, perhaps a tie, those being Cole Custer and Justin Allgaier. Just a friendly reminder, Cole Custer is moving down to the Xfinity Series again for 2023. Ryan Preece took his Cup ride, and if Cole Custer can have a really good turnaround and a good bounce back in 2023, perhaps he could take over for Kevin Harvick in 2024. With that being said, I think Custer and Allgaier will lead the way in the Xfinity Series. And lastly, in the Cup Series, I just think Hendrick Motorsports is going to continue their dominance. I see Kyle Larson getting the most wins. He's going to go, I wouldn't say 10 wins, but he's going to be back more in that 2021 form when he scored the championship, and he's going to be a threat. He was showing it at the end of last season, and I think he's going to show it throughout 2023 as well. For my fourth prediction, I'm going to do what I've done the last few years. The winners at the new tracks. So hopefully I didn't miss anything here. I'll start with the Truck Series at North Wilkesboro. I predict Ben Rhodes will win that race. The Truck Series makes a return trip to the Milwaukee Mile, which I'm really excited for. I predict Zane Smith will win that race. The Xfinity Series will go to a couple of different road courses this year, starting with Sonoma. They'll be back at that track. John Hunter Nemechek, I predict he will win that race. And the Xfinity race at the Chicago Street Circuit. The Xfinity Series will be racing with the Cup Series that weekend. I predict Daniel Hemrick will get a second career win. Why? Well, I think the Chicago street races will be a little chaotic, and we may get a winner that you may or may not expect. And I feel the same way for the Cup Series. Speaking of the Cup Series, one of the biggest things circled on the calendar is also the All-Star race, as it'll be held at North Wilkesboro Speedway. It'll be the first Cup race held at North Wilkesboro since September 1996, when Jeff Gordon picked up the win. Well, I predict that Denny Hamlin will win the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. And lastly, for the Cup Series race at the Chicago Street Circuit, a race that a lot of us are keeping an eye on the NASCAR schedule, I can't help but, though, go with the safe bet. I think Austin Cindric will pick up the win there. He's usually pretty good on road courses, and he's going to win more races. Sure, he only won the Daytona 500 last year, but he also ran pretty solid. I think he's going to improve upon that this season. All right, let's move on to the fifth prediction I have. There will be fewer winners in the NASCAR Cup Series in 2023. Like I mentioned earlier, last season was brought up with 19 different winners, and it was historic. 2022 was amazing. But now, with everyone having a season under the next-gen car, I think that number is going to go back down to about, I want to say 13 to 15 different winners. Prediction number 6 involves Hailie Deegan. Statistically speaking, I think Hailie Deegan will improve in the Truck Series. She's moving over to Thor Sport Racing, but when or if she does some part-time Xfinity Series starts this season, I think she will really do better in those cars that will earn her a full-time Xfinity ride in 2024. Prediction number 7. This involves the NASCAR Cup Series Rookie of the Year. I think it's going to be Noah Gragson, barely, over Ty Gibbs. I think if you give Ty Gibbs another year, he's really going to start to explode. It's going to be a little slow for him at first, so I think Gregson's going to get the upper hand over him towards the end of the season. So I think Noah Gragson will win Rookie of the Year over Ty Gibbs. And that's probably the boldest take I have, and I'll probably be very wrong about this in November, but we'll find out. Prediction number 8 involves car number 8. This is definitely one of the biggest questions going into 2023. How will Kyle Busch do moving from Joe Gibbs Racing, the team he has spent a very successful 15 years with, to Richard Childress Racing? Will this be a step up for RCR, or will this be a step down for Kyle Busch? At first, I really wasn't so sure on Kyle having a good season for 2023, but the more I think about it, RCR had a pretty good 2022 season, and they seem to have the next-gen car figured out well, with Tyler Reddick picking up 3 wins, and then of course Austin Dillon winning at Daytona at the regular season finale. Not to mention, he statistically had a better season too, scoring 5 top 5s, which since his rookie season in 2014 has been the most in a season for him. Not to mention with 11 top 10s. I predict that Kyle Busch will win 1 to 2 races in 2023. I originally believed he was going to go winless and not make the playoffs, but now I'm having second thoughts. Of course, at this point, time will tell if Kyle succeeds or not, but it's definitely going to be something to watch for 2023. Prediction number 9, this one's going to be pretty quick. This involves the new TV deal that's currently being worked on, and we're probably going to hear more about throughout the year. I do predict that I don't think much will change. I do think that Fox and or NBC, at least one of them, will stay with NASCAR when we move into the new TV deal. Prediction number 10. Let's talk about the Truck Series playoffs. This one's always a wild card to come up with because some rides are still getting announced at the time of this recording. So here's what I have written down. I'm probably going to be really off with this later on. I have Nick Sanchez, Haley Deegan, Corey Heim, Grant Enfinger, Rasha Caruth, Zane Smith, Carson Hocevar, Stuart Friesen, Ty Majeski, and Ben Rhodes. The championship 4, I predict, will be Zane Smith, Ben Rhodes, Grant Enfinger, and Ty Majeski. And I predict that the 2023 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion will be Zane Smith, scoring back-to-back Truck Series championships. And then at that point, we may see him move up to Cup next year. We'll just have to wait and see. But I think Zane Smith will pick up where he left off and score back-to-back championships. Prediction number 11. 23XI Racing breaks out. I think 23XI Racing will pick up the pace this season. I think we will see wins from both Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick. I think Bubba Wallace will get at least one win, while Tyler Reddick earns about 1 to 3, with both drivers making the playoffs. Not to mention, now they're going to potentially run this third part-time car. We know it's going to be entered for the Daytona 500 with Travis Pastrana behind the wheel, which I don't think anybody had that on their bingo cards. We may even see Kurt Busch drive a third part-time car if or when he is cleared to race by doctors. Prediction number 12, the Xfinity Series playoffs. Alright, so here's who I have making the Xfinity Series playoffs. Cole Custer, Sam Mayer, Sheldon Creed, Justin Allgaier, Josh Berry, Brandon Jones, Daniel Hemrick, Chandler Smith, Sammy Smith, John Hunter Nemechek, Austin Hill, and Riley Herbst. And my championship 4 consists of John Hunter Nemechek, Brandon Jones, Cole Custer, and Josh Berry. For my 2023 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion, I went with a little bit of a wild card. But you know what? The way his season ended last year, I think he's going to have a lot of fire built up in him. So I'm going to be a little wild with this one. I predict that the 2023 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion will be Brandon Jones.
You what?
Remember that he's also moving over to Junior Motorsports this season, and that's a car that has been winning a lot lately with Noah Gragson in that car, and that seems to be the car that's been the most successful Junior Motorsports. Chase Elliott won a championship with that number, Tyler Reddick did, Noah Gragson came close to it, William Byron won a championship in it. I think Brandon Jones will be the next guy to do that. I will probably be full of crap, but we'll find out. My 13th prediction involves Joe Gibbs Racing. I predict that Joe Gibbs Racing may have a down year. I think only 2 Joe Gibbs Racing drivers will make the Cup Series playoffs. I could see them struggling a bit, similar to what Hendrick did in the late 2010s. Ty Gibbs will struggle at first, and I think he may have a little bit of a rude awakening coming as well. But I think he'll pick it up in the second half. Christopher Bell came into the picture more in 2022, and I think he's going to be the lead man this season. Hamlin, I think he'll win 2 to 3 races, but I also think that Martin Truex Jr. may regress a bit more. He missed the playoffs because, well, of more unfortunate circumstances, despite that he was like top 5 in points overall. The only problem was he didn't win, and I'll talk more about MTJ here in a second. But let's move on to my 14th prediction. I predict that North Wilkesboro will be a one and done for the Cup Series. Before you call me out on this, don't get me wrong. I think it's great to see the return of the Cup Series to North Wilkesboro for the All-Star race. And I think the track will certainly see more racing now thanks to this revival. But I do think the All-Star race will be elsewhere in 2024. This is because Fox is pushing NASCAR to do a rotation of the event, much like the other major sports leagues. Though I do think the Truck Series will continue to run there in 2024 and possibly beyond, as well as, of course, other grassroots series. Prediction number 15. Junior Motorsports goes Cup Racing in 2024. I think at this point, with the talks going on the last couple years, that it's now or never for Junior Motorsports. There's been a lot of discussions and interest behind the scenes. The only obstacle is obtaining the charter, which Junior has said that the value is quite expensive for a charter. However, if the cards are played right, I think we could see Junior Motorsports debut in the NASCAR Cup Series in 2024. My 16th prediction, the Cup Series playoffs. Here are the 16 drivers I have representing the playoffs for 2023. Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, Austin Dillon, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, Bubba Wallace, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Alex Bowman, and Daniel Suarez. And here is my championship for Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, Ross Chastain, and Ryan Blaney. And I predict that the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series champion will be Kyle Larson. I predict Larson will win his second championship in 3 years. I think we're going to see him more in his 2021 form. Now that he's had a year under the next-gen car, he looked really good at the end of last season. I think he's going to carry that into this season and score himself his second NASCAR Cup Series championship. So for my 17th prediction, I predict there will be one other Cup driver that will join Kevin Harvick in retiring at the end of 2023. I was actually still writing out my predictions before Kevin Harvick officially announced his retirement for the end of this season. That's already been said. Harvick will also go to the Fox booth as well, and I've kind of anticipated. Well, the other driver that I think will retire at the end of 2023 is Martin Truex Jr. The way things have sounded, I have a feeling that this will be his final full-time season, as I think he will be showing a little bit more of regression. And as a bonus, I predict that John Hunter Nemechek will replace MTJ in the 19. As for another bonus, I look at the 4 car. This one's a little tougher, but again, if this guy has a big turnaround in the Xfinity Series this season, I could see Cole Custer taking over the 4 car. Prediction number 18, the Chicago Street Course. I predict we're going to have quite a few wrecks, including 1 or 2 track blockages at some point. There are some really tight corners, and I can definitely see a lot of mayhem taking place across both Xfinity and Cup Series races, and I think the races are going to be quite crazy. For my second to last prediction, this involves next year's NASCAR schedule. I predict that an international race will be added to the 2024 Cup schedule. Most likely this will be a Canada or Mexico track, though I would love to see them return to a track like Suzuka in Japan. We could see the return of the track in Mexico City where the Xfinity Series raced at in the 2000s, or perhaps a return to Montreal or Canadian Tire. As for my final prediction, prediction number 20, Auto Club Speedway will have a great send-off. Once the checkered flag falls at Auto Club Speedway in February, that will mark an end of its time as a 2-mile oval and will be converted into a half-mile short track for 2024. The posts have been made on Reddit. The grandstands have already begun being removed. This is happening. It is officially happening, and we'll probably know more information of what it's going to look like next year. I think this race will go great, much like last year's race, as the next-gen car put on a really good first non-super speedway impression in 2022. I think we will see that again in 2023. Honestly, last year's race was the best race that track had in years, and quite a number of tracks can say that too. The next-gen car saved intermediate racing. For me, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to miss the 2-mile oval. Then again, I think we can all agree as humans that we all hate change. We do. And there you have it, 20 predictions for the 2023 NASCAR season, and well, we'll see how many of these I get wrong in November, or correct. I don't know, we'll see. Probably more of them will be wrong, but we'll just have to wait and see. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for more information regarding Racing Infinity and Sunday Night Lights. I know it's been a minute, but I am working on those videos in the process, so stay tuned for those. And I'm also happy to say that I'm going to the Daytona 500 this year. I've never been to Florida. I've never been to the 500, so I'm really excited to go, and I hope it's a great experience. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Gray Speed Productions, and I will see you in the next video.